All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I promised we were probably going to be making more Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom videos, even though DC videos don't really click that well on my channel, but that's okay. We should still talk about it because there's a lot going on with this film, and this film is in the limelight right now, and it's taking over for the Marvels in terms of just absolutely getting decimated. But the difference is that this movie is getting decimated by the critics apparently as well. So I have an article here from Fandom Pulse that says Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is filled with climate change messaging and gets panned on Rotten Tomatoes with a 36% initial score. Now, obviously, this score will probably go up as of the time of this filming, but here's the thing I wanted to talk about. The fact that this film is filled with climate change messaging is nothing new, okay? Like, we knew this was going to be the case from the beginning. I remember specifically there was interviews with Jason Momoa talking about different climate change activism stuff. There was going to be an Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, but it seems like it's a lot more than what was led to believe. So let's get into this article, guys, from Fandom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button, man. I would greatly appreciate it. And like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. So it says, in the aftermath of James Wan's highly successful Aquaman, the sequel Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has stirred controversy, with early reviews indicating a departure from its superhero roots towards heavy-handed climate change propaganda. As fans already were soured on the final installment in the DC Extended Universe timeline, more concerns have arisen about the film's alleged leftist messaging, raising questions about the balance between entertainment and political agendas. Now, again, I want to make it very clear, we already knew that this was going to be the case. We knew that Aquaman was going to be a climate change activism complete bubble that they love to create. And again, they were using this film from the beginning to do this. And we knew that Jason Momoa, who is also himself a big advocate for climate change activism, we knew that he was going to be pushing this stuff. And of course, it's not just him, it's the studios, it's directors, everybody involved are all leftists. For the majority of them are probably all leftists, and of course they're going to love pushing this nonsense in the film. Now, is it going to take over for the entire aspect of the film? I don't know. I'm not going to watch this movie, but according to a lot of people, it actually does. But whether or not that's true or not, I'm going to leave it up to you to decide. But that's, of course, if you decide to see the film or not. It says the sequel unfolds with Black Manta's quest for revenge, driven by the power of the mythic Black Trident. As the narrative unfolds, a perceived political agenda takes center stage, with the film emphasizing a climate change threat linked to an ancient source of fuel. The storyline's departure from traditional superhero tropes has left fans questioning the incorporation of real-world issues into the fictional universe. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, it is so crazy to believe that this world is going to have any sort of climate change activism in it. I don't really think so. I think a movie like Aquaman, especially in modern times, is definitely going to have a little bit of activism in it without a doubt, especially when it has to do with sea life and all that stuff. But again, the main talking point of this is the fact that it's in the movie in the first place and how heavy-handed it is. This is the problem with a lot of leftist messaging in movies. It is so unbelievably heavy-handed that it comes off as preaching. That's what a lot of people have issues with. You know, a lot of people would not have problems with a little bit of messaging here and there if it was just a little bit lighter. But unfortunately, these people don't know how to do light messaging. They only know how to do heavy-handed messaging. They only know how to slap you across the face with it to make sure you heard it 10 times instead of just mentioning it very quietly, very softly in the corner somewhere and then sneaking it into the movie. No, they can't do that. They have to take center stage. They have to make sure that the message is prominent and the message is above all. And that's the problem that a lot of people have with movies, including myself. I wish that if you were going to do political messaging, it was going to be very light, if not there at all. But unfortunately, this is the times we live in, and this is what happens when the left has completely taken over entertainment as a whole. It says, while Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom continues James Wan's tradition of delivering visually stunning spectacles in the DCU, the heavy reliance on CGI has become a point of contention for some fans and critics. The underwater sets, although visually impressive, lack realism, contributing to a disconnect for audiences. The sequel introduces creatures reminiscent of horror influences, yet the abundance of visual effects may undermine the film's overall impact. And I mean, listen, the whole CGI thing, you know, it's an argument that's been happening for quite some time now, and I do believe that studios have an over-reliance on CGI. I am a firm believer that practical is better 90% of the time, but unfortunately, they just rely on CGI so much because they don't have the creativity to set up the set, or they don't have the creativity to act it the proper way, or they just don't have the creativity to sell it. Let's just be real, right? So they need the CGI, they need the computers, they need everything generated in order to do it for them. Otherwise, they would have to do it themselves, and we all know that they're not going to be able to do it. It says Jason Momoa's DCU performance as Aquaman sadly takes a backseat to the film's political undertones. The narrative's emphasis on climate change as a central theme detracts from the character's dynamics, with fans expressing disappointment over the perceived injection of leftist messaging into the superhero genre. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom pushes a left-wing climate change message, presenting it as the film's primary threat. The inclusion of a heavily politicized real-world issue with a comic book twist has sparked criticism, with fans expressing frustration over what they perceive as an imposition of leftist ideologies in a traditionally apolitical genre. This echoes a lot of what DC Comics has done in their recent books, which has contributed to comic book sales collapsing industry-wide. Now, again, I'm glad they mentioned the DC comic books because DC has been doing this for a while. DC, if you read a lot of their comic books, or if you even just read an excerpt of it, you'll realize that a lot of it is filled with leftist ideology. It's actually overbearing after a certain point. It's ridiculous just how much they're trying to jam it down your throats about certain things, and climate change is no different. I mean, for God's sakes, they had Superman literally fighting climate change by protesting. I mean, they had Superman fighting climate change by protesting. That is literally the definition of activism, and they want you to see it. They want you to know that this is a left-wing comic book. They will do anything and everything they can to put it so heavy-handed to the point where you are not mistaking it for anything else. It says early reviews indicate a polarized reception, with a notable Rotten Tomatoes score of 36% at the time of writing. Fans who appreciate traditional superhero narratives expressed disappointment over the film's departure from genre norms. The infusion of climate change messaging has led to debates about the appropriateness of such themes in superhero films and the impact of the overall viewing experience. As the film's release approaches, controversy intensifies regarding the alleged leftist messaging and the decision to incorporate real-world issues into the superhero narrative. Some fans argue that superhero films should offer an escape from political agendas, expressing frustration over what they perceive as a forced injection of ideologies into the cinematic experience. And I agree 100%. Not just superhero films, but movies in general should be an escape from reality. The only movies that should not be an escape from reality are movies that are based in reality, right? So if they have real world locations, real world names, real world whatever, or if they are politically based movies or TV shows, then that's something totally different. Obviously, you're going to watch Law and Order SVU and expect to see average life in New York. You know what I mean? Like that's just one of those things you would expect. But if you watch a superhero film that is obviously supposed to be fake and it's instilling real world identity politics or real world activism or real world political agendas, whatever the case may be, it's very annoying to see it, and it takes you out of your escape from reality. It takes you out of your enjoyment from the film, unfortunately, for a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So it leads me to believe that they are doing this purposefully, obviously, and they know exactly what doing this is going to do for their film, but they don't care because, again, ladies and gentlemen, the message takes precedence over everything. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.